Hello, and welcome to my webinar on how to turn your trauma into triumph in just 56 days without feeling overwhelmed, and even if you think your past is too painful to confront. This is a step-by-step game plan to break free from overwhelm, grief, fear, and anxiety so you can accelerate your career and create deeper, more meaningful relationships. Who is this for? This is for any high-performing professional or dedicated leader who is struggling with the effects of trauma, anxiety, fear, grief, overwhelm, or disconnected relationships, and trying to achieve lasting emotional freedom. If you've ever wanted a step-by-step path to emotional clarity and fulfilling relationships without feeling judged, then pay very close attention because this has the power to totally transform your life. What we'll cover today: what trauma really is, how it sabotages your career and relationships, why it's crucial to address it as soon as possible, the real reason why you're struggling with chronic stress, anxiety, and overwhelm, and what you can do today to manage your emotions, improve your relationships, and unlock your potential, and why toxic positivity and other outdated self-help strategies is the absolute worst way to achieve emotional freedom, and a radical new approach that works 10 times better, and a way to finally become the empowered leader your loved ones deserve with all the emotional clarity, connection, and joy that comes with that. My promise to you is a start-to-finish blueprint to cultivate lasting emotional freedom and heal from trauma so you can live fully and connect deeply with those you love. But first, a little about me. My name is Jesse Dean. I'm the founder and CEO of the Open Window Institute for Emotional Freedom. Over the past 21 years, I've been helping extraordinary high-performing professionals at their breaking point to rebuild their emotional resilience and overcome trauma that they were hiding from themselves and from others. The vast majority of my clients were able to do this even if they felt hopeless, even if they feared vulnerability, and even if they thought they were alone in their struggles. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how they did it. So let's take a look and find out what trauma is. Trauma, whether physical or psychological, involves a disruptive force that overwhelms the body or mind. Physical trauma is an injury to the body caused by an external force. Psychological trauma involves a severe emotional or mental reaction to sudden or chronic distressing experiences. Both types of trauma can have a long-lasting impact and can compromise our health, executive functions, and our relationships. Traumatic events can activate the fight and flight or freeze response in the brain. Traumatic memories are often fragmented and intrusive, resurfacing as flashbacks or nightmares that can be difficult to integrate into regular memory, which can lead to exhaustion and emotional distress. Persistent trauma exposure can lead to dysregulation of the nervous system, resulting in hyperarousal, constant feelings of being on edge, or disassociation, emotional numbing, or detachment from reality. Trauma can severely distort a person's view of the world, themselves, and others, leading to conditions such as post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, anxiety, depression, and feelings of helplessness or hopelessness. The mind often employs defense mechanisms to cope with trauma, such as denial, repression, or disassociation, as a way of managing overwhelming emotions. Trauma can trigger the body's survival mechanisms involving the nervous system, immune system, and endocrine system. Does this sound like you? Do you sometimes look in the mirror and wonder who you've become after enduring a lifetime of trauma and pain? Do you feel like you're drifting away from the people you love, even when you're in the same room? Do you often wake up feeling like you're stuck in a fog, unsure of how to move forward? Do you dread the thought of reliving your trauma, fearing it might swallow you whole? And most of all, do you worry that this emotional turmoil will cost you your career, your health, and your relationships? Well, if any of that sounds like you, then I actually have good news, because none of those things are the real problem. The real problem is that you don't have a working system for healing your trauma. I'm going to hand you that system right here in this training. But for right now, just understand this. Once you have it, you'll wake up each morning feeling energized with a renewed sense of purpose and clarity, free from the weight of your past. You'll find yourself laughing and connecting deeply with loved ones again, no longer held back by your anger, sadness, fear, or anxiety. You'll approach challenges with confidence, knowing you have the tools and the energy to navigate them. And you'll no longer feel or fear the emotional storms of your past, but embrace them as a part of your healing journey. The bottom line is there's a system that will allow you to transform your trauma into triumph without feeling overwhelmed, even if you think your past is too painful to confront. With this system, everything works. Without it, nothing works. That means everything you've been feeling, all the frustration, isolation, loneliness, and all the fear, none of that is your fault. You just didn't have a system, and now you will. Before we get into the system and how it works, let's quickly talk about what not to do. Because if you're like most high performing professionals, there are three huge mistakes you're probably already making. And you may not realize it right now, but those mistakes are destroying any chance you have of emotional freedom and healing from trauma. Let's look at all three of these quickly right now. Mistake number one, ignoring your trauma. This approach leads to a buildup of unresolved feelings and stress, making it harder to heal. It forces you to wear a mask that hides your true self from others, preventing genuine connections. It's just a band-aid that doesn't address the real problem. Here's why this is dumb. Ignoring your trauma will lead you directly to a life filled with sadness, regret, and isolation. The bottom line? Here's the truth. There's a better way to achieve emotional freedom and heal from trauma without burying your feelings, and I'll talk about what that looks like in just a minute. The second mistake I see people make is relying on quick fixes. Now look, you might be thinking that a temporary distraction will help you feel better, but doing this is a recipe for disaster. Here's why. Quick fixes don't create lasting change. They mask your pain instead of healing it. They can lead to deeper issues down the line. Trying to cope with quick fixes will only prolong your suffering and create a cycle of emotional numbness. The bottom line? What you need to do instead is to embrace a holistic approach to emotional healing from trauma, and I'll walk you through how to do that in just a second. Mistake number three, avoiding vulnerability. This outdated strategy keeps you from forming deep connections and experiencing real healing. Avoiding vulnerability means you miss out on the support and love that come from genuine relationships. This can leave you feeling even more alone and trapped in your pain. What you need to do instead is to cultivate a safe space for vulnerability, where you can explore your feelings without judgment and build authentic connections with others. The bottom line? All of these strategies are outdated, ineffective, and downright destructive to your emotional well-being and the healing from trauma. So if that stuff doesn't work, then what? That brings me to the four-step system I mentioned earlier. Let me walk you through it right now. I call this the Trauma Recovery Blueprint System. It's based on four principles. Number one, you must understand, acknowledge, and process your trauma. Number two, you must create a safe space for vulnerability. Number three, you must develop a personalized emotional action plan. And number four, you must implement customized mindfulness practices. The first step to healing from trauma is to understand what trauma is, so that you can acknowledge and process your trauma. This might sound simple, but it's a transformative aha moment. Only by understanding the root cause and mechanisms of trauma can you unlock a powerful pathway to healing. Instead of ignoring, denying, or suppressing your trauma, you can expand your awareness of your unconscious thoughts, beliefs, and feelings. By understanding the root cause and using a whole new set of tools to calmly release the trauma, you move quickly toward both mental and emotional clarity and vibrant health. This approach avoids the trap of ignoring your trauma, which only leads to more pain, isolation, and suffering. By embracing your trauma, you take control and create better solutions to your challenges that genuinely heal and help you create deeper human connections. Here's how you do step one. First, set aside time each day for self-reflection, study, and journaling about what you feel and why. Then identify the physical sensations associated with those emotions, like tightness in your chest, back, or a knot in your stomach. And then practice witnessing those feelings and letting them go without judgment, either alone, with a trusted friend or in a safe group setting. This is so much smarter than trying to push your feelings down because it allows you to process and release frozen, highly charged emotions and to access powerful inner resources to clear the way for deeper connections and true healing without the burden of reliving your trauma or punishing yourself with imposter's shame. This is the first step to go from a life feeling trapped by trauma and regret to one of joy and connection. When you have the ability to acknowledge and process your emotions, you lay a solid foundation to reclaim your joy. Do you see why that makes so much more sense than ignoring your trauma? Step number 2, create a safe space for vulnerability, is revolutionary because it lets you open up without fear or judgment. By creating an environment where you can share your true self, you build the trust necessary for meaningful connections. This approach avoids the pitfalls of relying on quick fixes that only mask your trauma. Instead, it offers a deep, nurturing solution that cultivates lasting relationships. This way, you can share your experiences without shame, connect authentically with others, and build a support network that champions your growth. Can you see how that makes sense? Here's why this is working so well right now. What we discovered is that vulnerability is a powerful catalyst for connection and healing from trauma. Recent studies show that sharing our struggles can rewire our brains to feel empathy and understanding. This means you have a massive opportunity to create deeper connections in ways that you never have, without fear, without the worry of being judged, and even if you feel like you've always had to wear a mask. When you do this right, you'll forge unbreakable bonds with people around you, experience a sense of belonging that you've always wanted, and finally feel free to show up as your authentic self. Do you see why this is a much better way to achieve emotional resilience and heal than relying on superficial connections? Once that is done, step 3 is to develop a personalized action plan that specifically targets your trauma. This is powerful for so many reasons. It's a true expression of commitment to your healing journey. It allows you to show up as the resilient leader that your loved ones need most, free from the shadows of your past, and you get to skip over confusion and avoidance and go straight to clarity and purpose. You see, right now, if you're like most high-performing professionals, you believe that toughing it out alone and using generic advice is the best way to heal. And if you keep seeing it that way, it leads straight to a life where trauma continues to dictate your emotions, behaviors, and relationships. Start by identifying your triggered emotional responses in your daily life. Next, apply proven strategies to gently release and process these emotions in a safe environment without reliving your trauma. Finally, implement accountability measures to ensure you stay on track and can adjust your approach as needed. This is essential because your loved ones need you to be fully present and engaged. Developing personalized action plans allows you to meet that need without feeling overwhelmed by your past and without the fear of being consumed by it. Over time, this creates a profound sense of direction and healing in your life. Do you see how that works? Step number 4, implementing personalized mindfulness practices to continue to process past trauma. Personalized mindfulness practices help you stay grounded and aware, allowing you to observe your thoughts and feelings without judgment. They equip you with the tools to navigate emotional storms rooted in trauma, helping you respond rather than react. Now, it's really important that you execute this correctly. You need to start with simple breathing exercises to calm your nervous system and incorporate daily moments of gratitude to shift your focus. When you've done that, you're on a beautiful trajectory toward inner peace and joy, free from the shadows of your past trauma. When everything is said and done, you'll experience emotional relief without reliving your trauma. You'll be able to easily navigate relationships free from the weight of your past highly charged emotions. Your relationships with your loved ones will transform because of the vulnerability and healing you've embraced. You'll find your authentic joy no longer overshadowed by trauma. You'll feel empowered and free to create the life you desire. And you'll finally be able to live fully, authentically, transforming your trauma into a triumphal source of strength and resilience. The bottom line, once you have this, you'll have a start-to-finish system for going from feeling trapped by your trauma to embracing your authentic self in as little as 56 days. Like I said, everything you've been feeling, the loneliness, the fear of reliving trauma, the constant stress and isolation, none of that is your fault. You just didn't have a system. But now that you know this, you owe it to yourself and the people you care for to start using this system to reclaim your joy and feel emotionally free, to deepen your connections that you long for, starting today. Now you have a choice. You can keep on waking up each day feeling disconnected and drained, dealing with frustrating relationships, chronic stress, and everything that goes along with that. Or, if you want to experience emotional freedom, build meaningful connections, and thrive in your career, and finally reclaim your joy, then here's what I have for you. My team and I have set aside some time in the next 24 to 48 hours to speak to you personally about how you can apply this system to achieve emotional resilience and healing from trauma starting today. Here's how that works. We'll get on a Zoom for about 45 minutes. You can tell me everything you're struggling with, especially regarding your challenges resulting from trauma. And on this free call, we'll put our heads together and come up with a step-by-step game plan for you to completely overcome the grip of past trauma, regain your mental clarity, and build deeper connections to experience more joy faster than you ever thought possible. And if you want my help to implement that game plan so you can start seeing progress right away, we can talk about how to make that happen. If you're not, that's fine too. Either way, my goal for this call is to show you what your exact next steps should be to reclaim your joy and build fulfilling relationships without the overwhelm. And by the way, this is not for everyone. I have two very strict requirements you must meet in order to be eligible for this free session. You must be a highly performing professional who is ready to confront and heal from past trauma. If that's not you, please exit this page now. Number two, you must be serious about achieving emotional resilience and healing from past trauma, and be willing to invest what it takes to make that happen. I've helped many high-performing clients just like you achieve transformation, but it takes an investment in yourself to make that happen. If you're not willing to do that, then I'm not able to help you. But if you are a high-performing professional and you are ready to confront your trauma, and you're serious about achieving emotional freedom, and you're willing to invest what it takes to make that happen, then click the button under this video and schedule your free breakthrough session now. This is Jesse Dean. Thank you for watching. Just a few short weeks from now, you could wake up feeling light and free, feeling focused, empowered, and connected, and knowing that you are on the path to healing from trauma, becoming the resilient leader, loving partner, and authentic individual you are always meant to be. I look forward to speaking to you soon.